It's time to talk about the differences between living in Leduc and living in Edmonton, and I'm going to share my first-hand experience. I'm going to share with you my journey over the last couple years that took me from Leduc to Edmonton and back to Leduc. So here we go. Please make sure to go check out some of my other videos on my channel. That would mean a lot to me if you could share them, like them, and most importantly, please subscribe to my channel. My name is Jesse with the Loader Real Estate Group at eXp Realty. And if you can see the title of this page and you look at a lot of the other videos, yes, I talk about real estate stats and what the market's doing, and I share a bunch of cool listing videos that I've done. But I've really sort of transitioned this channel over the last year or so to really talking about more community-based stuff, things in Leduc, in Leduc County, and even in Edmonton as well. Just things that are kind of going on in our area. Not so much events, but just how it is living here. What are the benefits? We have so many people moving from other provinces, especially, and certainly from other countries, that I'm just trying to kind of share why I think this is a fantastic place to live. And today, what I thought I would do is dive into a little bit of all the differences between living in Edmonton, the biggest city around here, versus living in a smaller community like Leduc. And the reason why I'm doing this is some people out there know, some people don't. I actually moved away from Leduc about a year and a half ago, just to Edmonton, so it's not like I moved very far. I didn't really move my business or anything like that. I still had a focus on Leduc. I've always done a lot of business in Edmonton anyway, so that was fine. And the reasons are family related and things like that. It doesn't really matter, but the very short version of this is we moved to Edmonton to a mature community in an infill house. I've always wanted to live in a new house in an old neighborhood, and when my kids switched schools and we really need to be closer to Edmonton, we looked at it as an opportunity to give it a go. We wanted to try it out, so we did. And we're a year and a half in. The very short version is not for us. So we're moving back. We're moving back to Leduc. I'm really excited about that. We're building a house right now, actually. So it'll be a little while yet before we're physically there, but we're coming back. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of some of the differences that I found. Now, this is just my personal experience. This is in no way to, talk poorly about people who choose to live in Edmonton versus people who choose to live in Leduc, and vice versa, or Sherwood Park or St. Albert or Spruce Grove or Devon or Beaumont, whatever. It doesn't matter. I just want to share a few things about my personal experience on kind of some of the pros and cons to living in Edmonton itself versus living in one of these surrounding communities. So first, let's talk about the really great things about living in Edmonton. All right, so, and again, this is just from my perspective, from my personal lens. Remember, I live in a mature neighborhood, so I live quite central in Edmonton in an infill house. And Edmonton is actually a very underrated, beautiful city. It truly is. Our river valley is unbelievable. The Mill Creek Ravine is unbelievable. It's like, I think very quietly and kind of sneakily became this like foodie haven, like unbelievable restaurants here. Even when we lived in Leduc, we always came to Edmonton for restaurants. Both my wife and I like eating at really great restaurants. That's something that we do quite often for our date nights and things like that. So having access and being very close to some of the best restaurants around has been amazing. Living quite central has been really good for a lot of things. So we go to quite a few Oilers games per year. And now it's either a 10-minute drive, a 10-minute train ride, a $13 Uber even in peak hours, things like that. So getting downtown for events at Rogers Place or concerts, Oilers games, things like that is really, really super convenient, where before living in Leduc, you kind of had to like really plan it out. Either it's a $100 Uber, it's getting somebody to drive you, it's getting a hotel room in some cases to some of these events and things like that. So a little bit of an added cost there, but so I really like that, the convenience of being really close to both Whyte Ave and the downtown core for a lot of different events, and certainly a lot of really great restaurants. I know that Leduc has the e-scooters as well, but we love hopping on the scooters. We can hop on a scooter and be downtown in 10 minutes. So some of those things I'm gonna miss. We live really close to the Mill Creek Ravine. It's beautiful, it's really nice. So lots of great areas to walk, taking the dog for a walk, going for family bike rides. things like that. Edmonton has they have a lot of events, and we know it's like called the festival city, so they have a lot of really great events. And so just being able to like bomb around really quick and go to these things, like even last minute, like go to the Folk Fest last minute, we could walk to the Folk Fest. So access, I guess overall access and convenience, I think are a lot of the pros to living in Edmonton, and certainly during the spring, summer, and fall. I will miss some of those things of being kind of really central in the large city. Now, being central, being close to downtown, being close to White Ave, being close to Middle Creek Ravine also comes with some other issues. So, you know, the great things are the convenience and the beauty and things like that, but it also comes with some riffraff, right? So there's, I don't want to get political on here, that is not the intention, but certainly over the last number of years, I think everywhere has gotten worse with homelessness, with addiction, the opioid crisis, and that kind of has a ripple effect to a lot of different things. And you notice that a lot, even from the time in early 2021, or whatever it was, mid 2021, when we kind of were looking around at deciding to do this. From that point to now, it's gotten tremendously worse with some of the issues that are going on around. Just from driving around, looking around, walking around, you can see that it's gotten worse. So that does, you know, bring on some other issues. We have less comfort in sending out our kids on the bike to go a couple blocks to the park in Leduc. I don't really care where they go. And listen, I know there's issues in Leduc as well, but that personally, our comfort level is much higher in a place like Leduc than it is here for things like that. Yeah, that's sort of the downside of living in those areas. That's probably the biggest thing is we just don't like being worried a little bit about what's going on out there because it's so unpredictable. You never know, right? So that's obviously a huge advantage to small town living versus big city living. And I think that's one of the main reasons why people choose to live in small towns is safety and security and peace of mind, right? And so again, pros and cons to both. That's probably the biggest con for our family of living pretty central in Edmonton. The other one is the traffic. My God. The winter is actually no problem. The winter you could bomb around, like unless it's a blizzard day or something like that, you could bomb around no problem. But the traffic when you mix in construction in Edmonton is awful. And I'm not talking about the white mud and the Henday and the Yellowhead. Those have their own issues for sure. But it's all the little stuff in between there that really adds to the ease of getting around the city. And so that's the thing. The safety, security, peace of mind aspect, and the traffic are probably the two biggest reasons why I do not like living in a more central neighborhood in Edmonton. Okay, so now let's kind of switch gears and talk about Leduc. So I think that Leduc and other places like it, I don't want to just single out Leduc, but it's like a medium-sized, not even a medium, it's a small city, but it's a little bit larger than, you know, I think your stereotypical small town Alberta. It's a little bit larger than that. It's really, really close to Edmonton, so if you need to go to Edmonton or want to go to Edmonton for any of those things, it's not that far, which is great. The things that we really love about it, obviously, is the safety, security, peace of mind. Again, kids come home from school, they're gone, they go play with their friends on their bikes, on their scooters, they're walking around wherever, and we don't have an issue with that, we don't have a problem with that. We know a dozen parents within this little whole area, and we need to get a hold of somebody and find out where the hell our kids are, we can, right? Where it's a little bit different up here. So that's probably the thing we're most looking forward to. Now our kids are getting a little bit older and they're still in that, you know, part of their life, but they are getting older and that will kind of go away in the next few years here, but that's okay. We still would rather be in a more smaller town. Both my wife and I grew up in a smaller town. So I think that that's where our comfort level sits. So that's what we're really looking forward to there as well. Now, the people, let's talk about the people a little bit. Again, this is in no way trying to denigrate anybody who lives in the big city, but my people are in smaller towns. That's just the way it is. I was raised in a smaller town. I lived in Leduc for 12, 13 years before we came to Edmonton. I lived in Edmonton before that as well. You know, I just connect a little bit better with smaller town people. Developed a lot of relationships with neighbors and other sports parents and just people around the community throughout our years in Leduc, and so we're looking forward to getting back to that. So again, there's pros and cons to it. You know, I think some of the downsides to living in Leduc Again, it's just access and convenience. I think that one of the comments I hear from like a little bit older kids, teenagers and things like that, is that there's nothing to do, and that might just be a teenager thing. But you know, like again, there aren't as many things to do in a place like Leduc compared to a place like Edmonton, and so sometimes that can get to the youth a little bit, but you know, and it's just kind of further away from everything. It's going to be a lot more driving for us, a lot more driving for my wife and her commute, a lot more driving for our kids and their commute to their schools, because they will still be going to school in Edmonton. But so there's pros and cons to both, but we're really looking forward to getting back to Leduc, getting back to a smaller town, yet still having pretty easy access to Edmonton. So that's kind of been a little bit of our journey over the last year and a half, and by the time we get back to Leduc, it'll be just over 2 years of us living up here. So it was a 2-year experiment. I think we gave it a real honest effort, and we really wanted it to work. And it doesn't mean that it didn't, or it was a failure. It was something that we tried. I think that everybody gained a lot of experience from it. Our kids developed other relationships that they wouldn't have otherwise. So I don't regret it. And having said that, I am looking forward to getting back. So Leduc's a great place to live. I really do like it there. I'm looking forward to it. And if anybody out there is searching for where to go when you are moving here from another province, make sure to check out Leduc. If you got any questions about it, feel free to hit me up. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.